Hey guys. I just finished doing a marathon that I've been working on for a couple of months now of True TV's show Hardcore Pawn and its spin-off, Hardcore Pawn Chicago. And I thought I'd come on here and discuss my thoughts about the show and stuff like that. And I'll also try and touch upon how the show is different from Pawn Stars for those of you who are kind of confused on the subject, because I know that a few people are. Let's touch upon that first. How is this show different from Pawn Stars? Well, it's actually not that hard to figure it out. Pawn Stars is more about showing individual items, learning bits of trivia and stuff like that, even though you do get stuff from the main staff. That's there mainly just for show and such. But it's pretty humorous, let me tell you. I've got tons of good laughs from that show and its spin-offs. Hardcore Pawn, on the other hand, is more about viewing how the staff, runs the pawn shop. Yes, you do see them making deals and learning bits of trivia about the items, but that's not the main goal. The main goal is just to see how they make deals, how to tell when people are being shady, dealing with storage area space, which is something that how do I keep mixing these shows up? Something that Pawn Stars never actually does, based on what I've seen in the show and stuff like that. Another big difference is that Hardcore Pawn has people flip out in the store and they have to be escorted. Just type in Hardcore Pawn and then you'll see a whole bunch of blow-ups and such, and it's actually pretty funny. That's actually how I discovered this show, seeing those blow-ups by chance and all. My overall thoughts on Hardcore Pawn, that it's an entertaining show. It's definitely got some flaws, and you can tell that it's staged to a degree, but so is Pawn Stars. But I'll have to admit, the show does do a good job of giving you enough backstory to give you faith in this staff, because there was actually a couple of pilot episodes to this show that I discovered on here, and in it, Les, the main star of Hardcore Pawn, gives you a good backstory on how the store was set up, how long he's been in the business, how he's been training his kids to own the store and such. And then you see him making deals. Now, obviously, it's not as interesting at the start because at first they only show more typical situations of dealing with customers, be it where it ends good or ends bad and all that stuff. But they do it in a way that it gives you faith. Then, as they make more and more seasons, they start having issues where either the customers or the ghouls end up flipping out. Because starting from season 3 onward, there were tons of times where Ashley and Seth will get into arguments on the floor and such. Now, I do kind of sympathize with that because I've got a younger brother and when we were younger we got into fights quite a lot. It wasn't until his second year of high school that we stopped lowering in terms of our fights. But that was because he was getting a lot more friends and was socializing a lot, but also I was getting better at the social aspect, although I didn't have as many friends as he did, and they were mostly short-term, but whatever, we're not here to talk about me, but I'm just saying that I understand what it's like to be constantly around a sibling and having arguments spill over. Now, I'll admit, it does seem unprofessional, but at the same time, I do kind of sympathize, and I have to admit, unlike most people out there, I honestly cannot tell you which one I think is honestly more at fault. I did have an opinion, though, at one point, because, judging from the bits that I saw when I originally discovered the show, I felt like Ashley was more of the problem. Then, for seasons 2 to 4 of the show, I felt like Seth was the problem. But now I'd say they're honestly equal, to tell you the truth. Okay. And then, how do I feel about, all the other staff members that they show on the show, like Rich, Bobby J, all the security guards? Well, they're there to just give a little bit of added value. I get the feeling that they're very comfortable at their jobs and such, and even though they cause their own little bits of problems, it either feels natural or it's interesting TV, so there you go. And do I think that bits of the show are staged? Well, yeah, because it took me a while to figure this out. But if you look closely at episodes from like season 5 onward, once they started producing like 26 episodes a season, you'll notice that at many times the show shifts from there being like a lot of customers waiting in line to like pawn their items and such, to other times when they're making deals and the line is practically non-existent. Hmm? Now, I do realize that obviously it could be a time where they're less busy, but they mentioned in several episodes that they regularly have lines out the door. Hmm? I mean, like, obviously, some of these bigger deal things are prearranged, naturally, but it's just something that's worth pointing out and such, because, like, I've watched enough reality shows to recognize where, like, red flags are raised, but I also know that all shows, like this show, where cameras follow a group of people around, are staged to some degree. You just can't get around that. Ask, like, Hulk Hogan, he's mentioned a couple of times that some of these shows are soft scripted. Okay, I think I've put this point to bed, but even if some of it is staged, I gotta admit, I've gotten enough laughs from it that I'm not really that picky about it, and given how I watch tons of other non-reality shows, I could easily lose this show and not really care about it. Okay, so, now I think it's best to talk about, like, the natural progression of the show. So, like, for the first 4 seasons, there really wasn't that much to really stick in my mind, honestly. There were a couple of interesting story arcs, such as, like, Ashley trying to quit, like, I think twice. Times where Les had to, like, wake the kids up. That was interesting, but I really don't remember those seasons that much. It's just because everything was episodic, kind of like Pawn Stars, because like I have tried to marathon Pawn Stars in the past, and while I found it funny, it just wasn't as easy because Pawn Stars is just more episodic. This, once you get to like season 5 onward, had a lot more omnipresent story arcs, and I like that. It keeps you interested, especially if you're binge watching, because even though you can binge watch episodic shows, it's just not as fun. Trust me, I would know this, because like I can't really marathon Jeopardy and Who Wants to Be like a Millionaire that much. You get the idea, I think. But like once the show started producing like 26 episode seasons and incorporating season-long story arcs or episode arcs that lasted for like, I don't know, 5 episodes because they keep bringing it up, it got a lot more interesting because we started seeing like problems that they have in the back, because even though that pawn shop is pretty big for like a pawn shop, yeah, they seriously have like crammed in so many items that it's amazing that they actually keep buying. And like, I know that a lot of people go into pawn shops to like sell their items or check out weird items, but I never really got the vibe that people regularly buy stuff. And you see how many TVs and like cars and lawnmowers they have back there. I'm impressed, man. That you seriously are going to keep continuing with that. That's amazing. And it was also pretty nice to get more from other members of the staff, let them realize that they aren't perfect, and have clashes with like Ashley and Seth, because like there was that Rich versus Les story arc, or Rich versus Ashley. Yeah. Although I have to admit, I do totally think that bit where Les fired Rich was pretty much mostly done with the show, and we never really got a good resolution to that, because it's mentioned for the first few episodes of season 6 or 7, I can't remember which one, where he came back, that, he is under Les's radar, but obviously, since Les never mentions it after a while, everything turned out fine. But I've later learned from reading on like social media pages or discussion boards that Rich has actually left the show, and to my knowledge, there wasn't a formal announcement anywhere. Really? You could have like mentioned that in either the show or the show's main Facebook, unless I missed it. I tried, but I couldn't find anything. So, yeah, that's annoying. Come on. And I have to admit, once they put the season number of episodes to like 26, the blow up started getting a lot more hilarious because, like, when those rednecks tried to bring in that old Asian computer, and then there was that time when those two fat ladies were yelling at Les when he's standing 2 feet away, and he's like, "What are you screaming about? I can hear you! I'm standing in front of you!" That was so funny because they were trying to yell over him, "You're 2 feet away!" And I gotta admit, I honestly prefer Byron as the security guard. Not because he's taller, just because he isn't really afraid to actually, escort the customers out there once he feels like they need to go, or is told to take the customers out. And then when those two girls try to, like, kidnap him. Hilarious. Okay. I'll admit though, not every season-long story arc was good because, like, season 7 had like an omnipresent story arc for basically the entire season of Seth and Ashley at each other's throats. I mean, like, it was kind of interesting, but there's only so long you can really take these two at their throats, and having it go on for like 20 episodes, even though you have that computer crash thing happen in the middle of it, even though I think that was staged, but interesting to see how the staff might act in that kind of situation. Yeah, but seriously, it didn't really have to be 20 episodes. And let me tell you, that season 7 cliffhanger, it sucked. I totally got the idea that there wasn't going to be anything behind. That's really, and I was right. And then season 8, yeah, that wasn't a good season of the show. I binge watched it, although I did have to wait a tiny bit for the last couple of episodes to air. I hope there isn't too much noise going on outside, but season 8 wasn't really good for multiple reasons. One of the reasons, yeah, well, first of all, Karen, I don't really think she adds that much to the show. Now, obviously, you could argue that they're trying to show somebody who's a recurring character but is less experienced, but given how you were showing people who were very comfortable at what they do from the get-go and not having to rely on experts that much, that's one reason I honestly like this show over Pawn Stars, is because they don't have to keep calling in the experts like every other item. Really? Sheesh. But yeah, like Karen, she isn't totally comfortable at this. Now, I understand that it takes a while, absolutely, but still, doesn't really add that much. And it's just Ashley more transferring her dislike towards her brother to her cousin. Even though I'll admit that Spider story was interesting. Season 8, we got like less from all the other staff members because, like, that jewelry guy, he doesn't show. A couple of the older people, they do a little bit less than, like, Bobby J. He isn't there for any serious matters. He's there to just be made fun of, even though it is funny, absolutely. But they just did a good job, showing other members of the staff for seasons 5, 6, and 7, and now you have this. Yeah. And it just wasn't, like, as funny or as fun, although I'll admit it wasn't too hard to watch it, mostly because either I was just feeling down or I wasn't watching too much else right now. But that cliffhanger, yeah, that was a good one, let me tell you. So I think that pretty much summarizes my thoughts on Hardcore Pawn, the actual show. Now, how do I feel about Hardcore Pawn Chicago? Okay, so this is going to be a lot harder to explain, okay? I hope you get how I feel about this show, okay? So, this show, when I first started watching it, I had, like, no faith in the staff in this store because, one, the pawn shop was so small. I'm like, how are you going to display a good amount of what you have, I mean, like, it's obvious that you have some good storage space based on those 5 seconds that they show of it in, like, every episode, but yeah, it's so small. I'm amazed you could actually fit a film crew and still have a good amount of people in there. And then, like, that way that they were organizing everything at the beginning of that first episode, even though that was done for TV, yeah, that just made me really lose hope in the staff immediately, because you don't show the weaknesses of a business before you show us the personalities of the staff, because if you show us the weaknesses right off the bat, and then reveal personalities of the staff, our faith in them goes down big time. I mean, like, now I realize that, what was I gonna say? Well, that everybody has problems, you know, and that the Goulds aren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, let me tell you, but I'm just saying, that was one heck of a bad way to start the show, and the way that Randy and Wayne were arguing with each other all the time. Yeah, that didn't really give me that much faith in them either. I honestly felt like their kids were better minded than their fathers, let me tell you, and I didn't really like that feeling. And the security guards, mainly they rely on numbers rather than actual strength, although in a way I do think it's better, because that way you're less likely to get a lawsuit, you know? Because, like, who wants to take on 3 security guards and the owners instead of Byron and, like, Les or Steph? Because people have tried to do that, but Byron almost always shows them. But, Hardcore Punch Chicago, it borrowed a lot of what I mentioned for Season 8 of the original Hardcore Pawn. Not that great blow-ups, not too much from the staff members, although thankfully there is less staff members that might possibly get shafted, so it's not as bad, let me tell you. And unlike Hardcore Pawn Season 8, there were actually a couple of nice story arc winners, because like that hot dog thing, yeah, that was reasonably interesting. That cliffhanger, that was actually a nice cliffhanger, although since the show was cancelled, we don't get a resolution to that, yeah. I'm like, obviously they didn't know it was going to be cancelled, but that sucked. And what else is there to mention? Nah, I think that'll pretty much finish this up, but get this. After I finished watching Hardcore Pawn Chicago, I decided to do a little bit of looking up at their official Facebook page, and I discovered that there's also a Facebook page for the actual pawn shop, along with most of the main people involved in the show, and on those pages, it's showing them get along great. Now, obviously, they're not going to post negatives on those pages, because they're public pages, and anybody can view them, but based on how much that they post there, it shows that actually all these people are very level-headed, get along great with each other and such, and actually have a fun time. Like, one would think that, what's her face, the daughter and her brother, Nate, or Nathan, aren't really liking the business based on the show and actually want to get out of there. But on the pages, it seems like they're having a fun time. So what does that tell me? It tells me that there's even more of this show that is staged or forced than the original. So talk about a poorly made spin-off, let me tell you, okay? Now, if they were to make a second season of this show, I'd give it a shot, yeah, because, like, I've watched enough of the original show to say, just blowing this one off, nah, I'm not going to do that. It's worth me coming back and figuring it out, because, well, you know me, I watch plenty of stuff that I'm sure will be bad, even though I don't totally want to. Big Brother 15, Halloween 6, a couple of the Texas Chainsaw movies, even though I wasn't that sure what I was getting into, and then pretty much every Friday the 13th movie. Oh man, I am still not over that, but yeah. So it's a lot more forced than the original show, definitely, even though I think you guys get the idea. Holy crap, I almost spent 20 minutes talking about this show. So, for those of you who actually stayed around and watched this video, I hope you enjoyed it, even though I was kind of repetitive. And, yeah, see you next time.